A little bit of a trigger warning on this episode. There is talk of DV, domestic violence. So if that is something that is not for you right now, this episode may not be for you. This is my first time I've got someone back. And I'm really excited because this wonderful woman, Megan Pustetto, is a very good friend of mine. We chat on the phone. It's brilliant. We have these in-depth conversations, mostly just gossip about people that we know, because gossip is a good thing. We ended up having a bit of a conversation in this one where you could have turned off the microphones and we would have just kept going. We wouldn't have known. We were just chatting. And I think that's brilliant. So you are just going to be in on our chat and I think you're really going to like it. So here is Megan Pustetto and I having a chat. I'm so glad you're back. You know, we haven't had any repeat. You're our first because I wanted, since we started the podcast, and especially since I started going solo, I wanted like after
solo
a year.
Era.
I cannot get my legs. My legs are caught. I can't get them out from where they are right now. Like seriously, I'm cramping up so bad. Yeah, since I started recording solo interviews, I wanted to have a year later, like how are you a year later?
This time last year, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because Angie and I were still recording together this time last year, so it would have been. So welcome back. You're our first return guest of the pod.
Well, I'm glad I'm back because I feel like the last interview I wasn't in a good space. So.
Yeah, you were very worried about the last one.
There was just a lot going on.
Yeah.
It's being doxed, harassed. I just was so tired from MAFS. It was just a lot. But I'm feeling better this year.
Well, I was going to ask you, what's burnout like? Because it would be real in this kind of thing because your podcast is your baby. It's your personal business. It's your brand and you're the boss, the employee, the employer. You're everything.
Everything.
And so what you make of it depends on how successful you are. So you, like most people who have their own businesses, they have to work so incredibly hard to get it to a point where it's, you know, kind of working on its own. And burnout can really, really happen. So does that happen for you, especially with MAFS?
Yeah, so MAFS is kind of like, it's like the Superbowl, but for me, like that season, I don't work on any other shows that intensely. Because even if I did put out that much content for another show, like the audience just isn't there, so you wouldn't get the views. It wouldn't pay off for you. So MAFS, it's worthwhile to kind of work hard and put all of the content out because it's going to pay off and the audience is there. So MAFS is like Feb till April, and then there's a bit of like flow-on effect, and then they'll get their Instagrams back, and then the second round of drama will kick off again. So, but it's I'm okay now because when MAFS is on, it's 4 nights a week. So I'll wake up in the morning 6 or 7 and work till like 6 at night, have a bit of a break, dinner, gym or whatever. And then I work from when the show's on like 7:30 till like 11 doing socials and stuff. So they're big days.
Huge.
And like some of the days were like 16 hours and I don't like have a day off during MAFS. So I do this like intensive period of like nonstop work. And I actually felt okay this year, but when I stopped and the show was over and I started to like rest and like have a normal life, I actually got like severe burnout. And I think it was like when you stop doing something like that, your body then crashes because it's so used to that high, you know, volume of workload and intense periods that
it's working at that level.
Yeah, working at that level that your body just acclimatizes. And then when you stop, your body's like, oh, what? Yeah. So I did have really bad burnout. I'm feeling okay now, but like severe. Like I woke up at 9 o'clock one morning after sleeping 12 hours, had breakfast. I had to go back to bed. Like it was, I can't explain it. It's like severe, just tiredness, fatigue, like crazy. But I'm feeling okay now. This season wasn't as bad as last year.
Yeah, last year seemed a lot worse.
Yeah.
But also there'd be a match fitness that you're starting to get.
Yeah, true.
So every season you know what to look out for, what to not let affect you, how to work so you can be at your optimum.
I think that's what helped me this year because last year I didn't block out a lot of outside noise and things that were going on and I not played into it, but I got affected by it and I let it affect me. And this year there was some stuff happening at the start of the year Like I had a court case that was ongoing that I ended up just not going to because I was like, it's either that or MAFS, and I just weighed up what's more important. It's if I go and, pursue this because legal stuff obviously takes like a lot of time and energy. I think the energy is probably the biggest thing. I was like, I'm going to flop this whole season and my content's not going to be good. So I just chose to focus on that and put that as a priority and blocked out some other stuff that was happening and really just focused and like didn't let anything distract me this year.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. And I thought it was really, really good because last season we would chat throughout and this season were kind of like, I'm not, once this is over, I'm going to give you more of my attention.
Oh my God, I didn't speak to people for weeks.
Yeah, but it was a really,
I just was like,
but that's a
tied to my
small
desk.
period of time when you look at the grand scheme of things. And it's really important that you did that for yourself, I thought, because, and if I asked you anything, you would say, just go and listen to the pod because I can't repeat myself because and I'm thinking, oh my God, how many friends must ask the same questions?
Oh my God, did you see, what about this? And I'm like, can you please listen? Or like even just people in the Facebook group and stuff. And I got really annoyed. I did a post and I was like, guys, I've put so much effort into the podcast. Please, I get so annoyed on the group chat when we do the episodes each night when someone's like, oh, I can't believe this or that. And I'm like, guys, I was in the podcast. And like, I'm not expecting everyone to like make my podcast a priority, but it's just kind of annoying when it's like, you have to repeat yourself because it's like, it's all there. All the answers you need are there.
That. And that was good because it actually made like, for someone who has a podcast, it's hard to listen to other podcasts, but yours was really, all podcasts are great, but yours had the answers that I was asking you personally for, and it made a lot more sense for me to just do it that way. But, I thought, oh, we'll just have a conversation because we're friends. But once I realised that that's times that by just 4 more friends, that's like all your time.
Yeah, and it's not that I'm like, my podcast is so amazing, everyone needs to listen, but I go
it's there, and that's why I put it in there.
I specifically go to effort to think about what people would want to know, like what questions are going to pop up when they're watching or what are things that are a bit left unexplained. So I do go to that effort to kind of answer questions that are going to pop up. So that's why I'm like, guys, trust me, it'll be in there. And then if I've got 4 people asking me questions about MAFS, it's like I also have 24 contestants that I'm speaking to, and that's probably what takes up most of my time. So it's checking in with all of them each day. This happened last night, like, do you have any more info about it or what's coming up this week? So it is very hard it's a big job for one person to keep in contact with all of these people. Obviously, I'm not speaking to all 24, but
that's what I was going to ask.
High volume.
How do you get to talk to them?
So it's a bit of a referral system.
Okay, yes.
So before the podcast, when I was freelancing and doing this content, but I would sell it to different outlets, I would have to find out who the contestants were. Either like I'd work with paparazzi and they would be shooting and they'd send me a photo, and it would be sometimes just a photo and you'd have to identify who they are. Or you'll get a contestant from a previous year that says, I know someone, or someone reached out to me for help and then they put me in touch. So it's a bit of a referral system, but it was quite hard back then because I didn't have anything to show them. Like, it was a bit of a trust exercise of like, no, trust me, I'll help you and I won't screw you over. And now that so it was quite hard to convince them and get them to work with you because it's just based off trust. But now that the podcast has been going for so many years, people know it and they know me and they know that I don't, reveal my sources and that I can be trusted and hopefully that I do a good job. So now they kind of come to me, which is good, or they can just listen to the pod and be like, oh, okay, cool, that's what she's all about, like getting the story out and stuff. So yeah, it's usually a referral, like someone will know someone this year, like a couple of mutual friends that I had with people. And then once you kind of talk to one contestant, they're like, oh, I'm friends with this person, I'll get them to talk. Can you help them as well? Or they'll just reach out to you once the show's starting and they start hearing your podcast and see the articles.
Do you get the villains reach out to you and say, I think I've looks like I've got a bad edit?
Yeah, I'm getting screwed over, help. Usually what's the reason for reaching out.
And can you tell?
Sometimes it's hard if you build up a personal relationship with your sources, which you do. And I think like people kind of criticize that. And it's like, that's how journalism works. Like you have to have strong sources and you have to have good relationships with them.
You've
and
got to trust each
they
other.
need to trust you and you need to trust them. So you do form friendships and, good relationships with them. So it's kind of like, if you've had a good experience with them and they seem really nice to you, it can be a bit confusing to then if they start behaving really badly on screen and you're like, is that a bad edit or did they do that? But, that's only one side of them. They're not always that bad. Like they just had their moments. It can be a bit tricky to separate the two of like, oh, but I really like them as a person. But yeah, they did horrible stuff on the show. So it can be tricky, but I usually just ask around to like a few other people and I'm like, oh, hey, so what did you think? Do you think that person's actually getting bad at it or was that how they were? And you just get a sense of what other people, what their perception of it was.
Do you get many of them stop talking to you and say, I can't believe you've said that on the podcast. It's not true, even if it is, because I know that you don't report anything unless you've checked it.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it's checking. So usually I will, if I get a story, especially if it's something that's quite controversial, I will check it in terms of I'll ask another contestant, is this what happened? And then it's like you've at least got two sides of the story and it's, one source said this and one source said that, include them both and it gives you a bit of a more rounded view. But I do reach out to all of the contestants at the start of the season and I say, hey, here's my number. Let me know if you need anything. Like if you ever want me to put any stories out for you or share your side that's not being shown or if things aren't portrayed accurately, let me know. So I do give everyone the chance at the start of the season. For example, I even message like Jack and Tori.
Yeah.
So then it's like, if they don't speak to me and I've only got the other side and I'm putting that out and I've tried to get their side and I can't, it's like, what else can I do?
Yeah. Yeah, you've given them the chance.
So they're almost doing a disservice to themselves by not. And then it's like, I can't force you to speak to me.
So speaking of those two, they didn't talk to you?
No, I haven't spoken to them.
Okay.
I don't know if they're actually speaking to, I think they're speaking to the Daily Mail. Like everyone kind of has their personal outlet that they trust and work exclusively with. So it is a bit of like a
who would
competition.
Choose Daily Mail?
Well, the funny thing is that, that Daily Mail dude, he always gets the, the Jacks and the Harrisons and the Deans and those toxic dudes. And I always get the really nice people that are lovely. And so I'm always like, which team do you want to be on? Do you want to be associated with that group or do you want to be associated with my group?
Well, I just had someone DM me this morning, a woman I've known for quite a while, just through Instagram, since I was on Gogglebox. And she said she pointed out how many men like Dean and not Jack, because she said Jack will probably join them, but Dean and Harrison. Oh, because I posted something about one of the stories that Harrison did and a guy called Will has done a stitch with it and it's brilliant. It's so good. And she said they do these things so they'll get just people looking at their, stories. They just want eyes on, numbers on. And I'm like, well, that's why I never go to them directly. I'll watch Will's video instead. She said, Dean Wells has just commented on Barbara Streisand's post because it was about a Democrat or something. She said it's just so he will be engaged with a heap of people. I'm like, yeah, I know, but I never really knew. Like I never really figured they are just there just purely for back and forth as many people as they possibly can.
They're just trying to get attention. Like they are so desperate for attention because they're obviously not getting it in other ways because they don't have other stuff to offer. So they'll just be controversial and offensive because they know that will get a reaction from people.
Yes.
So it's the same formula they follow every year. Harrison's definitely picked that up from Dean because, he's seen how much attention it's gotten. But I, at least once a week, will get someone sending me a comment from Dean and I actually don't even read them anymore. I'm like, I don't care. Everyone knows he's a disgusting
the oxygen
pig.
You have to remove.
I'm just like, I don't need to share everything that he says because we all know that he is an absolute scum of the earth. And same as Harrison now. So this is what I mean at the start of the season where I was, not focusing in on kind of ignoring the outside noise. Harrison body shamed me and he said these horrible comments about me, not even just body shaming, a lot of other stuff. And I saved everything in a folder and I was like, all right, I'm going to do an episode about this and I'm going to respond. And then I sat with it for a bit and I was like, I can't be bothered. I actually don't even owe this dude. Like, why am I even acknowledging something that he said? He's trying to get a reaction from me.
Yeah.
He's trying
you would be giving him one.
I'm giving him my platform. I'm giving him attention. I'm sharing his disgusting views. I feel like we should
some people to just agree with.
It's like he's not even worth acknowledging. And so I chose I was like, actually, you know what? I'm not even going to waste my time answering to you.
Yeah,
like, I actually owe you nothing. So that was what I mean, like just getting that noise out. But he has continued just to attack women and go on and say things. And Lyndall came on my pod and she roasted him a little bit, but it was, it wasn't that bad. She was just talking about her season of MAFS, and he obviously saw it, and then he posted this thing about all the me and the MAFS brides being unmarriable because we're over 30 and we're not in a relationship, which is a whole, I don't even need to explain why that's so But Tani and Lyndall, they all started calling him out, and I was like, stop, because
that's what he wants.
He has now gotten a reaction from you. He's gotten attention. You've shared your platform with him. He's probably got more followers. He then got national media coverage because every outlet then responded to, what he had said, and it's then amplified to a large audience. And there's some people out there that are going to see that and agree. And so I started a group chat with them, and I'm like, guys, just stop acknowledging him. This is what he wants. And narcissists like that, the thing that annoys them the most is if you don't give them attention.
That's right. If you starve them of it.
Let them shout off into the abyss and,
for anyone listening,
cut off the oxygen.
Right now, if you happen to have followed Dean or Harrison or Jack.
Stop.
Or even Bryce from past seasons, and you just go and check whether you're still following them. Like, have you actively unfollowed them? If you haven't, go and do it right now. If you've got your phone near you, go and do it right now. Unfollow these kind of people, because the best thing we can do is to take the attention away from them. And if they haven't got the followers that they want, that's just the beginning. So if there's your little public service announcement and homework for today.
Did you see Carrie Bickmore did that amazing video about men's violence. He left some comments, and
did he?
Everyone's been sending it to me. I haven't even read it. I'm like, I don't even want to know. I don't care. Like, it's just, we know that he's just the worst.
The worst.
Yeah.
And the
everyone
irony
just don't
was
even send
Bryce
it to me.
Was one of the worst I've ever seen on that show, and he's turned out to be the least worst of the four of them. Isn't that funny? I mean, he's still
I don't follow him. I've got him blocked, I don't know what he's even up to.
I don't either, but he says as little as possible. He's kind of, I don't know whether he's still just I mean, this is a long game if he's playing the I told you so.
Well, this is the thing with Jack and Tori. I think it's following the Bryce formula in terms of, like, look, I'm not in the relationship. I probably can't judge, but I personally think that Bryce stayed with Melissa out of spite to prove everyone wrong, because there was so much backlash. And it's like, if he ever broke up with her, then we can say we were right.
So.
We told you so. So I think Jack's just staying with her because it's what else can you do?
Absolutely. The really weird thing is people saying, like Ivan just said it then, could someone be playing the long game that hard?
Tying with the lie.
But if you've got someone who is your slave, someone who is taking care of you and doing everything that you want them to do, there are so many relationships like that happening anyway.
Yeah.
People who are in relationships that are, I mean, this is all allegedly, but men who are cheating on their wives but not ever leaving them because they get everything that they want. They're getting it at home and they're getting it out of home.
Well, these women as well, like, just to generalise, women that are in toxic relationships sometimes don't realise that they are. That's or right. Like that their treatment isn't normal.
That's right.
And I think they've also obviously got like insecurities. They don't want to be alone, and that's the whole thing of like it's society thinks it's so bad for women over 30 or whatever to be not married. And it's like, this is a choice. Like, we could easily find a husband if we wanted to, but like, I'm happy being alone. And if I'm going to be in a relationship, they have to add to my life. But then there's some women out there, obviously, that don't want to be alone. Like, it's the worst thing being alone. So they just put up with these shitty relationships and treatment, and then I guess turn a blind eye to the cheating and the abuse. And
because we're told from birth, really, as girls, the best thing that you can get when you grow up is married and have children. Not ever
the
being
dream.
Yeah, that's the dream, not ever being told it's the nightmare, and you get stuck in it, and it's a really hard thing to get away from. And if you do, then you're going to be crucified by the very people who've told you that it's the dream. That whole, you're going to end up alone and lonely with cats or dogs. It's like, don't threaten me with a good time. I mean, I'm living that life now, and I could not be happier. I went on someone's pod recently, and it's a single pod, and she was was like, did you think this for yourself? And I said, of course not. Like, as a child, I remember having those conversations with my girlfriends of, who do you think I'm going to marry? Okay, we'll say who you're probably going to marry and how many kids. And
the thing of like, I want to be married by the time I'm 25.
Yep.
I'm going to have 3 kids.
Yep. And when I was a teenager, I wanted to have like a medieval style wedding.
Oh, everyone was planning. Yeah, I've probably still got my
oh my God,
wedding plan from back then. And you pick your kids' names out.
I used to draw medieval dresses with the big high. Oh my Lord, with the head.
Queen Yvie.
With the Princess Leia type hairdo and. Oh, could you imagine?
You should just have a single, like a wedding for yourself. Like, remember that Sex and the City episode? I always think of that because
me too.
I'm like, I think I'm going to get to a certain point where I'm going to do that and be like, okay, well, I'm not going to get married now, or like, if I haven't found someone or I've decided not to, and just be like, I'm just going to have a celebration for me.
Have a registry. Stupidly, Sarah Jessica's, Carrie's was at Manolo Blahnik, and there was only one thing on the registry. But a registry for a single woman would be a really great thing. All the things that you don't get because you haven't gotten married. Okay, this is the bit where we're going to talk about domestic violence. Just coming in here quickly to let you know if this is something you don't want to listen to. Just go forward a couple of minutes. Do you ever get scared?
Of what?
Of...
Yes, well, I get scared. I had a rat in my house the other night and I was screaming. Seriously.
Good. No, I want to know, like, especially in the climate we live in right now with men's violence, do you ever get scared of the men coming after you?
Yeah.
Because I would. It's a real fear. It's a rational fear. It's not irrational at all.
Well, the thing for me, it's like I've been to the police so many times, with evidence.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. You've got it all reported at least,
yeah.
and they've it's there. It's somewhere,
but they don't do anything. So
no,
I go to the police all the time, and I say this person's harassing me and doing X, Y, Z, and they say, just get off Instagram, just get off social media, and I'm like, I shouldn't have to.
No, you shouldn't.
And B, my whole work is on social media,
that's
so
right.
I physically can't. And they said, well, there's nothing we can do. They haven't done anything to you yet. We can't do anything unless they actually do anything.
Legally they can't, but they can record everything.
There needs to be protection in place before it gets to something happening, not just we're going to be reactive. We need to be proactive.
That's where we don't know what to do. The experts don't know what to do. The victims don't know what to do, because what do you do about saying to the police, I'm scared of this person, and the police were like, well, have they done anything? No, but I know they're going to. Well, what if they don't? We have to presume.
And I know that the police, like, obviously they are answering to laws and there's only so much they can do legally and that's not their fault. But you almost get just pushed off as like she's being dramatic. She's overreacting.
That's got to change.
And the thing with these, all of these murders of women and abuse and stuff that we're seeing lately, that's like everyone's talking about, thank God. And it's always, or most of the times, a known perpetrator or someone who was out on an AVO or known to police. Like, it's always that type of person. And that's what I was getting really triggered about recently, because I'm like, is it going to take something to happen to me to then be like, I told you so?
Well, that's exactly what's happening. So I'm thinking, this is me just thinking aloud now, if there was a registry of, say to a perpetrator, hey, we've now registered you as someone who has done this and this and this from this woman. If this continues and it goes again, you're going to be...
There should be a registry of people can look up prior offences or prior AVOs, because unless you're like a reporter or you have access to court documents, there's no way that you can know someone's criminal past.
Yeah.
So like I could start dating a guy and not know that 5 women have taken AVOs out on him and I'm putting myself into danger.
Yeah, that would be really good.
But I just don't think it's a coincidence that most of these cases it's like known to police, already took an AVO, already made a report, was already fearing for her safety. Like, it's just more needs to be done.
That part there, just that middle bit there, if the police could somehow say the registry is now, you're getting, I mean, I don't know, like you've got so many stars or black marks against your name that now you're going to start getting fined. I mean, people could take advantage of that. But what I'm saying is what happens when then something does happen? Because I just posted about this morning. What if we started charging the people who ignore the police, like the judges and the police who these women go to and don't take it seriously? The women end up dying.
Let them off too easy.
What if they had to go to jail as well for not? There would be a lot more visits. There'd be a lot more. We're watching you. We're going to start, well, maybe if there's a register of enough proof where you've been stalking someone, where you've turned up and you've harassed them or you've been sending them really bad texts, you have enough black marks against your name, you have to start wearing that ankle bracelet.
A sign on your head. Tattoo on your forehead. Do you know what it is, though? I actually think that because the punishment isn't big enough.
No, well,
like they get let off so easily that they're not deterred from committing the crime.
There's no deterrent.
So I think the punishment needs to be increased and it needs to be taken seriously. I don't know what it is, because it's like there's other punishments. Like even if you are found guilty of like abusing women, like sometimes it's like, oh, good behaviour bond.
Exactly. The punishment has to change.
They know that they can get away with it and they know that they're probably nothing's going to happen. And also it's very hard to prove. Like there's just so many factors that
well, coercive control is really hard.
Well, that's a crime in the UK now.
Yeah, and it's a crime here.
Is it?
Yeah, it's just become.
Well, that's good.
But it's really hard.
How do you prove that?
Well, that's the thing, is that may be an easier one to prove simply because you've got text messages, you've got bank, financial
what if it's
control.
Verbal, though?
Well, that's the verbal stuff you'd have to start recording.
Even
we'd have to change the laws of people being allowed to be recorded without their permission if they're doing a crime.
Do you want me to tell you something really crazy? So I was in a domestic violence situation before and I filmed I started getting verbally abused. So I was press record on my phone to film the video. I had a video of this person abusing me verbally, physically, and then smashing they got my phone and smashed it on the door into like 1,000 pieces. There was a witness there with me. So like my building manager had come in. And I gave that footage to the police, and the person, like when I went to court about it, they were charged and found guilty, but I then got put up on the stand and questioned as if I was the person that had done wrong. I got grilled and I was like so nervous. Like I probably didn't answer the questions well enough because it just was so triggering for me. But there was a point in the thing where they got let off on one charge because they said they couldn't prove it. It was the physical assaults. There was, various things, but one of the physical assault things, they're like, we can't prove that those bruises were caused from that thing. And I was like, I've got a video of them hitting me. I didn't do anything else like that would have got me bruises like that. And then the smashing of the phone as well. Oh, it could have already been smashed. We can't prove that, even though you've got a video of them smashing it on the wall, we can't prove that that damage was because of, like, it's so hard to, even if you have that physical proof, and I had a witness there.
See, that's where judges have to change. The judges need to say, it is very clear that you put those bruises on her and it is very clear that you smashed her phone. Well, they need to start believing the victims more in that sense.
Well, I mean, these perpetrators don't get convicted because, yes, they probably did it and there's proof and stuff, but it's not enough to be 100% you did this without a doubt, which is hard because it's like, what more proof can you don't always have proof. You're not always going to be able to prove stuff like to the nth degree. So I think the burden kind of needs to be less, but then you don't want innocent people going away. But how many times
that's right,
is
but that's happening anyway.
Mm.
And that's what, you get a jury. And that's very different. A jury can send an innocent person to jail, not with the beyond reasonable doubt. They are like, we think he did it. We think she did it. So you're in for life, mate. One judge compared to a heap of, like, you can't, humans are so fallible. Like, how can you give one judge all that judgment? How can you give a jury of people who have no expertise in legal world at all?
No, the legal system is an absolute joke.
Yeah, it really is. Things have really got to change. And us saying, what do we do? What do we do? Maybe that's where we start. Changing the legal system, changing the onus of proof.
You have to prove that you didn't abuse them.
Yeah.
Instead of us having to prove that you did.
I would just like to say to any young people that are listening, don't get into that relationship. If you feel a red flag, or if someone around you has a really weird feeling for you, go with that instead, because your future is really awful. And by the time you get to that point of clarity of, oh my God, I'm in way over my head here, so many things have been taken from you physically, mentally, emotionally, that could have really been avoided if we just start telling young people how much more they're worth. You know that boys, he hits you because he likes you, or he's mean to you because he really likes you. Oh, it's really cute. Stop that immediately. He hits you, get away from him. If he's mean to you, get away from him. Don't ever talk to him again until he has respect for you, until he's kind to you. Imagine if we start saying that to young girls. I remember being told that as a kid.
I think as well, like women, not that it's our fault, because, you know, this is just what society's trained us to do, but women like excusing men's bad behaviour or accepting it also like disadvantages the rest of us, because then the men think that they can also do it. But if like we were all like unified and we're like, as a whole collective of women, we are not going to put up with this behaviour, they wouldn't actually be able to do it. But then there's some women that are like letting the team down because it's like, I'm going to accept it. I know a good example.
Well, that's a pick me.
Yes. So that's like, it's just making the standard, because it's like, oh, well, I'm going to find a woman that will accept it.
Yes.
And then another thing I think is like believing women, like when they are brave enough to come forward, obviously. I recently did a story on Ridge from MAFS this season. And two of his actually there was about 6 exes, but this particular story, there was 2 exes that came forward, gave me a statement on the record. They didn't want to be named because they were like, I just don't want my name out there. I want to be, I'm a private. But they were on the record statements of, you know, cheating, abuse, all of this stuff. And we put the story out there and people in the comments are going, this is fake. I don't believe it. Where's your proof? And I was like, I have two women on record saying that this happened to them. What other proof do you want? Like, unless I was in the room when, you know, they were having sex, like, and I filmed it, that's as good as it's going to get.
Why wouldn't we believe them?
It's just our default to.
It is.
We need to see proof. Otherwise, why? I don't
we
believe
saw a good guy treating a girl.
I don't believe that a guy would do that. And it's like, we're seeing it happen so much. Why are you not believing it? And I just think it's so important to believe women when they do speak out. Ridge's girlfriend as well, current girlfriend Jade from the show, she like made a comment slamming this ex that had spoken out. And I was so annoyed, because I was like, these women are trying to help you. They are speaking out about what happened to them so that you don't have to go through what they did, and you're choosing not to listen to them.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that feeling of oxytocin love is very strong. I mean, I remember it as a teenager myself. I was obsessed with who I was crushing on. Obsessed. So much so that, you know, they could do anything, say anything. Didn't matter, because I was just so in love with the good of them, even if it didn't last for very long. I mean, it just happens to so many, and that's why we've got to get them young, because if we don't teach girl kids to say, no, get away from me.
Self-love, confidence, security.
When do we teach them? I want to end on this. Believe women. Believe women.
Yeah. Amen.
Thank you for coming in again.
Thank you for having me.
Come in again this time next year.
Put in the diary, regular.
It'll be after the season, after you've had a bit of a sleep.
No, I'm uncontactable from unless you're a MAFS contestant, from Jan to April. I'm like, I don't reply to anyone.
Well, it's still April. No, it's not. It's May. So see you next May.
Do I have coffee on my face?
On your face?
On my lips?
No. Oh. Do you often get coffee on your face?
Yeah, the other day I got home and I had like a chocolate here and I was like walking around, or maybe it just looked like dark lip liner though.
No, it looked like poo. You had poo on your face.